Sitting in with us this morning is Mel Robbins, host, of course, of The Mel Robbins Show.
Yeah, and there's plenty that people are talking about today. And I think, Mel, one of the biggest things that we're discussing is the Kobe Bryant tragedy. And while all of us, well, most of us here on this couch, I can't speak for yourself, we don't know him, right? We've only watched him on television. But everyone that I've spoken with says it hit home. Why is that?
It's a great question, and the reason why it hits home and feels personal, even if you've never met him, is because it is personal, because it's stirring deeply personal emotions. So first of all, a lot of people have a deep attachment to him because he has been in the NBA since 1996, so a ton of people grew up watching him. The other thing is that a tragedy like this triggers your deepest fears, particularly as a parent. When you think about the other family involved, where both parents died and there are 2 surviving children, it stirs your personal feels. The third thing is it's a huge reminder of how fragile your life is, which is also personal. And the final thing, I think, is that we live in a moment of time where there's so much strife, so much disagreement, and all the research shows that particularly in times like this, feelings of nostalgia, feelings of grief are amplified and they unite us, which is why this feels such a deep sense of personal loss for so many people.
And you did have a personal connection to Kobe.
I did. Well, we had shared the stage at numerous events over the years. Here we are just a couple years ago backstage, and you know, the real thing that strikes me is he was there to talk about the $100 million tech fund that he was launching at this particular event. He also spoke about his daughters. The man's commitment to his family was so evident, and that's what I keep thinking about, is the fact that we were talking about his daughters backstage at that particular event.
What I keep thinking about as a wife and mother is his poor wife. Not only does she have to go through this grieving process without her husband, right, grieving the loss of her daughter, but then she has 2 deaths that she has to process while having a 7-month-old and continuing to be a mother to these other children.
Yeah, it's going to take time, and the hard part is going to be a year from now when the publicity has died down, when people go back to life. The amazing news is human beings are resilient, and the best thing that you can do if you've been affected in any way by the news of this tragedy, whether it's Kobe's family or the other victims in this, is to invest in your life, to make sure you tell the people in your life that you love them, because we just don't know, you know, how much time you have. And that brings me to today's topic, which is so important. I believe we save a family today. We have a couple coming on who are at war, fighting over their children. And when you think about, you know, especially in the wake of a tragedy like this, how often we blow up our marriages and our families because we simply don't know how to fight productively. And so we have a clip. There's something that this husband said to his wife that struck a nerve.
We can talk calmly, and you don't have to say slick, rude things when we have a conversation.
I don't feel like they're rude. I feel like I'm telling the truth. If I call you, if I say, yo, I think you're an unfit parent, I mean it.
So why can't you say, I think you could do better at this? Why do you have to call me an unfit parent like I do drugs or something?
How do we find the common ground? Because there's a lot there. You two are just so freaking frustrated with each other and angry.
You can't talk.
You don't even see it. I mean, just look at their body language. They're like, they come in and they're like separated from one another and angry. And he had called her an unfit mother. And you know what they were fighting about? Their parenting styles.
Well,
He
a
had
lot
come
of
from a
families
home-
do that, yeah.
Of course. And I introduced 2 really important tools that you have to watch today at 10 a.m. One is he was raised by a single mom, so he has like a line. He's connected to her, but he had more independence. She was raised in a 2-family home with a mother who was a helicopter, so she's raised more inside a box where she was micromanaged. They fight over their parenting style, and their marriage is on the verge. So one of the things that we give you today, and you can find this on the Pix11 website, this is a form that every parent can download for free from the Pix11 website. It gives you 5 things that you have to get on the same page about with every one of your kids. If you sit down and you go through and you make a plan for every kid every single year, it helps you get on the same page so that you're not constantly bickering about your parenting styles. Instead, you are aligned and able to speak to one another from a place of support and alliance.
That
Do you
is so
guys
important.
do you guys argue?
Well, it's very difficult to speak. It's very difficult not to yell because I was raised in a house of yellers, and they used to scream and fight. My parents got divorced when I was 7. My wife was not. My wife is she's a very calm person. I'm a communicator, so I think that's the trick, and that's what I tell my parents now. As a parent, I tell them, I'm like, you could have done this better by just talking. You get nothing done by yelling.
Well, and here's the other thing. The reason why you yell, even if you don't want to, is your nervous system remembers what it was like to be a 6 or 7-year-old when mom or dad would come home and they'd start fighting over the house. So when you walk in, even though you don't want to yell, believe it or not, the evidence shows your body remembers what it was like to be a 6 or 7-year-old. And so what comes out is the yelling, which is what she was doing too.
Yeah.
And they were fighting about the yelling.
And a lot of times, the folks yelling don't even think or know that they're yelling. I'm just talking.
Right.
I'm just communicating.
Becomes
with
the
you.
standard.
I'm
practice
the
of
yeller in my
communication.
family.
Yeah.
And here's one other thing.
I feel like you're the yeller. Yep.
I am. I mean, I'm gonna take
Go
that.
ahead.
I'm printing that out.
I saw you.
We'll make photocopies. No, but what's interesting is, so I'm divorced. I got divorced way before my children even knew that we were married, and because I worked on myself, I don't go after my ex-husband's jugular. So I'm able
important.
to, and now I get his crazy. Right? So when we talk about limiting screen time, like, we are on the same page. If we were still married, there's no way this would be out the window. But it speaks to the very heart of, you have a gag reflex. You remember mom and dad fought when you were kids. You know, you
Yes.
remember the fight you had before this. And so thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is gonna
It's
be
all about
posted and hung up
identifying
in
the
the newsroom.
patterns, talking about it. You can change your behavior if you stop in the calm to talk about it.